Hello and welcome to our LCAP community conversation. Today is the LCAP mid-year update. I'm Brian Landisi, Coordinator of Assessment and Accountability here in Glendale Unified. Our goal today is to talk about the LCAP, to review our mid-year outcome data related to the metrics that are in our current LCAP, and also look at the mid-year expenditure and implementation data of all the actions that are currently in our LCAP. We'll also offer an opportunity for you to share your feedback. The Local Control Accountability Plan is a 3-year plan, and it's developed with input from our educational partners, where we list our goals, actions, and expenditures to address the state priorities and our local needs. The LCAP and school funding, it's important for you to know that California schools are funded by the Local Control Funding Formula, and school districts must produce a plan, which is our LCAP, each year to show you how the LCFF funds are intended to meet the needs of our students. So let's get into it. Our LCAP goals are aligned to all of the GOSD board priorities. And throughout the year, we're holding conversations with our educational partners to provide an update on our plan. Let's first take a look at the goals and actions and our expenditures and mid-year update. Throughout the next set of slides, you're going to see information related to our goals. Let's start off with goal number 1, maximizing student achievement. In this table, you'll see our action title, the student groups that are going to be benefiting from our actions, the funding source, whether it's our base or supplemental funding, the budget that we originally adopted in June by our Board of Education, and then this next column is our mid-year update. This information is provided from the first interim projection that goes back to October 31st, 2024. We'll list any variances and we'll share with you any comments. On this slide, you'll see some actions that are associated with instruction. So our big goals overall as a district are to encourage literacy by 3rd grade, math literacy by 6th grade, college and career readiness by 12th grade, plus all of the career and technical education programs. As you can see, we are spending as planned. In this next set of actions, we focus on our visual and performing arts programs, our tiered interventions and supports, our instruction-related services for special education, and also services for our English learners, including our newcomers. What's important to see on this slide is that we are spending as planned. When you see the zeros, I just want to call attention to this. This is not an error, but we indicate that this is tied to a previous action, and that's why there's no specific funds set aside for this action because it's covered in a previous action. Let's move on to the next set of actions. In this area, we'll also be looking at language skills, this time with our long-term English learners, our dual language instruction, and our gifted and talented education programs, extracurricular opportunities at the elementary level, and intervention supports. You'll see in some of these cases there is a variance, and this variance is due to prior year carryover. That is, the funds are carried over from a past year, and that's why there is a little bit of a variance, but in the positive direction. Let's take a look at our next set of actions. Here, we have our library and media educational services and technology support, instructional services specifically for Daly High School, bus transportation for Clark, and additional intervention support for our elementary schools. In all of these cases, we are spending as planned. For goal 2, our overarching broad goal is to foster a positive culture of learning. Let's take a look at some of the actions associated with this goal. Here you'll see we're focusing on attendance support, social emotional wellness, parent and family engagement, behavior support, and social emotional support through our special education program. When we looked at the budget that was adopted last June compared to our interim projection a few months later, we did find that we were spending as planned. The other actions associated with goal 2 are for communication and engagement and our guidance and counseling program. And here we did find that we were also spending as planned. Goal 3, our broad goal in our LCAP, is to ensure the health and safety of students and employees. Here are the goals and actions that are associated with this area. Here, we focus on our qualified staff, instructional materials, facilities and maintenance services, and physical safety and security, and also health programs. You'll notice that as we compare our adopted budget to the interim projection, we did find that we were spending as planned. Part of the LCAP is producing what's called the budget overview for parents. When we look at the top section, this kind of orange section, you'll see the LCFF funds that have been adopted at about 300 million. And then our supplemental concentration, which is a portion of that larger pool at the top, which is about 29.1 million. When we looked at how that compares with the interim projection, which was at the end of October, there is a large variance, and you'll notice that it's up by almost 9.3 million. And this is due to the increase in our unduplicated pupil percentage. The unduplicated pupil percentage really has to do with a lot of the outreach and efforts that our school teams have done to identify students that fall into a number of categories of students that require extra support and how we want to serve them. So this variance is due to that increase, and we're very grateful to our teams for identifying students that we know can use a little extra support. The bottom section, this kind of salmon colored section, is how we intended to use our LCFF funds, our expenditures. And again, we had planned to spend 283 million overall. Of that, 29.5 is our supplemental funds. You'll notice there are slight variances, and those are due to the carryovers that I mentioned that we found when we were going through our goals and actions. Now we'll look at some of the metrics and data that we use as part of our LCAP plan. These come from a variety of areas, including our state tests, our college and career indicators, the dashboard results, our advanced placement results, graduation rates, checking as our students that are English learners are moving towards English proficiency, attendance and behavior data, survey results, and data on teachers and facilities. So let's dig a little deeper into this. When we look at goal 1, I want to draw your attention to the English Learner Progress Indicator. This is called the ELPI. It's part of the California dashboard. Our baseline goes back to 22-23, where 60.3% of our English learners were making progress. That means that from one year to the next, they were either improving or showing a little bit of growth on their English assessments. So let's take a look. When we looked at the end of 23-24, we landed at 57.4. So our goal is to get to 69% making progress by the end of this LCAP cycle, which is at the end of the 26-27 school year. Another area I want to draw your attention to is the reclassification rate. Our baseline at the end of last school year was 13%. So far this school year, we've been able to reclassify about 8% of our English learners, so we're well on track. Our overall goal by the end of the 26-27 school year is to have 19% reclassification rate. A couple of other things that we want to draw your attention to here in goal 2, the attendance rate, our baseline as we looked at it was 95.2%. This is what we call the P2, the principal apportionment number 2, at the near end of the 23-24 school year. When we compare that to where we were at P1, which is the middle of December of 2024, there's just a slight variance. Actually, it's a slight improvement. Our overall goal is to get to 98% as an attendance rate by the time we finish this LCAP cycle. For chronic absenteeism, this is a measure on our California dashboard. Our baseline was 18.7 in 22-23. At the end of last school year, we were down to 14.3, a really tremendous improvement. And as of the 90th day of this school year, we were about 11%. So we're very pleased with this. Our overall goal is to be at 15%. At this point, we've exceeded that. So we'll continue to assess this and hope that it continues in the positive direction. Our expulsion rate was 0. It continues to be 0, and we hope to maintain that 0% over time. Looking at goal 2, the suspension rate, another piece in this action here is a baseline for 2.6% of students across the district being suspended. As of last year, we were able to bring that down to 2.4. We hope to, by the end of this LCAP cycle, to get that down to 1%. When we look at our number of behavior incidents, these are all documented incidents in our student information system. We classify them as major or minor. And as you can see, there have been some growth over time. Our goal is to continue to reduce the number of behavior incidents overall. We often talk about our results on the Panorama survey. This is a check-in that we do with students twice a year, and we feel that there's been some good progress. We look both at the spring, at the near end of the school year, and then also near the beginning of the school year to see if there's any adjustments over time. Our plan is to get our results for our fourth and fifth graders to a really stable level. The same is true for our sixth through 12th graders. We find that when we use this tool, it's a way for us to gauge student voice. So our school teams look at how students are responding, and they reach out to students who may need additional support and create programs and opportunities for kids to get connected to adults and programs on their campus that help them feel like they can be positive contributors to their school community, maintaining a positive growth mindset, really building on self-efficacy and sense of belonging, social awareness, and school safety, along with emotion regulation. These are all measured by the questions on the survey, and we're hoping to make positive gains in these areas. For goal 3, we're looking at facilities in good repair. We use a standardized tool to measure this at all the schools. Our baseline as of last school year was 97.75. We've bumped up to 98% during this school year so far. Our goal is to get to 100%. We've been able to maintain standards-aligned instructional materials, and we hope to maintain that as 100% throughout this LCAP cycle. The same is true with our student-to-device ratio. We have a 1-to-1 device ratio and hoping to maintain that throughout the course of this LCAP cycle. So in closing, we have done an analysis to see where we are kind of midstream in this process this school year. We'll be using our chosen metrics to continue to talk about progress. And in this case, we're happy to say we are making progress toward our actions and goals. And also our expenditures, our spending is planned, as we have noted, by looking at our adopted budget compared to the first interim. So we feel that we're able to confidently say that we are spending as planned for all of these actions and goals. And we will stay committed to implementing the LCAP to provide necessary services to our students. I'd like to invite you to join us through our Google form to share your feedback on this presentation today and any thoughts you might have. Please go to gusd.net/share to have your voice be heard. And finally, we thank you for joining us for this LCAP presentation. You can learn more about our district LCAP at gusd.net/LCAP. Thank you for joining us.